What's up, guys? Welcome to Nimble Minds Talks of Self and Spirituality, where we talk about different philosophical perspectives as well as spiritual practices. And we're going to get right into this video. This video's topic is going to be Jezebel and succubus spirits and the type of energy, okay? So where am I getting this idea from? I was watching this YouTuber, so shout out to this person. And in the video, this wasn't like the main topic, but it was one of the ideas they were going over. And it was the topic and the idea of the Jezebel spirits and the succubus spirits out there. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So once again, I always like to start like this on this channel as well as other previous videos I have made. I always talk about abstaining and being able to not give in to your temptations and having a type of control over it to where they can be in front of you, they can be around you, but you will still not give in to the temptations. You will still have control over yourself and your spirit, your soul, and your energy to be able to go like, you know what? I see these temptations right here. I see whatever it is, this woman, because that's the focus of this video, Jezebel, succubus spirits. I see this woman here. I see this, she's embodying this type of energy, okay? I see that she's trying to tempt me into doing something, okay? You need to be able to abstain and restrain yourself from giving into that temptation because it's all over, okay? Especially now with phones, with social media, and obviously there's nothing new under the sun. So since the beginning of time, the beginning of man, there have always been temptations and there have been always been these energies and these forces out there, but now it's more prevalent now, okay? It's a little bit more obvious now because of social media and because of these things, right, and technology. So you have to be able to have some awareness about that because, hey, once again, I'm a young guy. I'm a young man, adult, however you want to say it. And it happens all the time. People get caught up all the time in situations where it was just, maybe they were, on a good streak, okay? They were doing well. They had things in order. They were, squaring away this. They were straightening out this, taking care of their business, doing things they had to do. But then they get involved with this woman. But then they get involved with this type of energy, right? And now they're starting to lose focus. Now they're starting to forget the goal. They're starting to forget the mission. Now they're starting to forget the things that are really going to bring them that fulfillment in their spirit, that fulfillment in their soul, because now they're giving into that lust, that temptation, and that will take a toll, okay? It will take a toll. So once again, you have to watch it. For example, I'm a person who's on YouTube pretty frequently, okay? Although I do not have any other forms of social media, I do engage in YouTube every day, pretty much every day. So with that, there are times where even though I'm not even looking for it, that's the thing. Even though I'm not even looking for it, there are times where you may get an ad about like a Viagra pill or something, and then now you're getting those ideas in your head. You may get an ad about the corn, right? Those sexual videos, and you're not even worried about it, but now it's in your head. There are going to be times where you may get a video of some artist performing, right? And when she's performing, now she's throwing it in a circle, she's throwing it back on a tricycle, she's doing all kinds of things, right? So now you're getting these ideas in your head, okay, and you're starting to get these temptations that are going to start leading you subconsciously, okay? That's how it starts, and then consciously, and then you start thinking about it. Now you want to open that Safari, okay, whatever your browser is, Bing, Google, Yahoo, whatever, the Firefox, I don't even know if that exists anymore, but whatever your browser is, okay, whatever way you can get that fix, now you're in this struggle, okay, to make sure, hey, I just saw this thing and now I want to, to give into the temptation. But no, you don't give into the temptation, okay? You don't. You have to have that type of control. And that's what we just talked about, okay? We just went over what? The Jezebel spirit and the different forms it can take on social media, okay? And keep in mind, there are also other things as well of why this is important, okay? Because, for example, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, somebody might be hearing this. They're like, look, I don't understand what you're talking about, Nimble Minds. It just doesn't make any sense because the ladies are great. The women are great. And I'm not saying you're wrong. The women are great. And, I'm just out here having a good time, being careful. And that's what you should be doing, right? But all it takes is one time for you to go out here, sleep with a woman, with a condom, right? It fall off, slip off, whatever happens, right? And next thing you know, you have a baby on the way. Next thing you know, it's not like a game anymore, right? It's not as fun because once again, I'm a guy. I really do love to joke. I really do love to laugh. But at the end of the day, these things do happen to people, and then when they do happen, you're now in a situation where it's like, okay, how am I going to handle what just happened? And I always say prevention is better than cure. So what better way to cure something than to just make sure, hey, I'm not out here sleeping around. I'm not out here with all these women. So the chances of me having a unwanted child, or the chances of me, not even just the child, because it's bigger, not even just the child, right? Because that is very important, but the woman herself. Because now you may be with a woman, and it could be a situation where she's leading you on, or now you're leading her on, because maybe she's expecting more, right? She's expecting, okay, well, we did this thing, so it has to be something serious. But at the end of the day, it's not what you thought it was. Okay, at the end of the day, it's not what you thought it was. So now that's an issue. That's a problem that's causing tension now, because now she's upset. Hey, how could we spend this much time together? How could we do these things? And you're telling me it wasn't real, and vice versa. Because it happens on the man side too. There's guys out there, right? They're going to spend time with a woman, and then out of nowhere, she might hit him with the switch up, okay? And then he's like, wait a minute. I'm spending all this time with you. I'm really putting in some effort, and now you're trying to tell me like it's not that, but this is what I'm here for. I thought this is, what it was. So it can go both ways. And that's why you have to just be careful and not give in to those tempting thoughts, okay? So, and lust is a big one. It really is. Lust gets a lot of people. It really does. Although there are other temptations, right? Deceit, lying, gluttony, right? All types of things. Greed. Those are all definitely big ones. But lust, it gets a lot of people, because that's the thing that will... you can be aware of it, but it can still have a type of control over you, just because that's how powerful it is, okay? So you have to be aware of what? The Jezebel spirits, okay? The Jezebel energy, okay? There's going to be times where you're out there and you're around a woman, and hey, she's going to look good, but guess what? You're focused, okay? You have a mission, okay? You have a plan, you have a goal, so guess what? You can't give into that. You can't go into that, because she may derail that. She will derail that. Okay, so you need to be focused on the things of whatever you're focused on, okay? And use this time of focus to what? Better yourself, okay? Because if you better yourself, naturally, what are you going to do? You're also going to better the people around you, okay? That's when it comes to, the self-improvement thing. It's not just, you, but in being better about your habits and the things that you do, people around you, hopefully. And, they will start to be like, okay, maybe I need to be a little bit better, hopefully. That is not always the case, but that is what can help, okay? Because what better way to, practice something, right? Like abstaining from temptations, than to actually do that thing, okay? It is a difficult thing. It's not easy, okay? And that's the truth about it. It's not an easy thing, because it's everywhere. It's on your phone. When you go outside, it's outside, okay? Everywhere. There's all types of places where you can easily go pick up a drink. You can easily go pick up a smoke. You can easily go talk to a woman, go to a strip club. It's very easy to engage in the temptations, okay? That's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, is to abstain from those things. To say, you know what? I've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this thing for a long time. Let me actually see what happens. Let me actually give it some time. Let me actually give it some effort, and not do these things, and not give into the temptations, and not give into the lust. It's not an easy thing. It is not easy, okay? Because it's so easy nowadays. Like the phone, the video, I am making this on the phone, right? I could easily, right, once again, after this video is over, I could easily be like, hey, I'm going to put the phone down, and then I'm going to just get on it and go on whatever browser, and hey, now I'm watching these videos of people being intimate and stuff, and they're recording, and there you go. I just gave into it just like that. Just like that. Not even, a couple minutes, and I just gave into it. That's how easy it is, okay? That's how easy it is. And guess what? It's free. It's free. And what did I talk about in the last video? Sometimes just because something is free does not mean you should do it. Just because something is free does not mean it's always the best thing for you. Okay? Just because it's free. And it goes both ways too. You can buy things that aren't the best for aid. But lust is what I'm talking about, okay? Some of these temptations is what I'm talking about, okay? There are situations where you can literally get into situations where you'll be all around it for free. And just because it's free, that doesn't make it, oh, it's free, so I can just, hey, I can do this now. No. I wouldn't agree with that. But that's what you guys need to be aware of out here, okay? Because it's all around. And once again, talking about the woman, right? For the man, you're going to have self-control. For the guys out there, you're going to have self-control because what? It's very easy to, be invited to a gathering, okay? Have a couple of drinks, okay? Next you know, all she has to do is what? Say some flattering words. All she has to do is play into your ego. That's why I preach and I always go for like, hey, get rid of the ego, okay? Don't have an ego because at the end of the day, people will play on that. And that's just the truth, okay? And women are very good at it. They'll play on your ego. They'll say those charming things. Hey, you look nice. Hey, oh my gosh, you feel strong. Hey, oh my gosh, like all this stuff. And then it's got you all hyped up. And now you're easy for the taking. Now it's easy for them to come in, okay? And it's easy for you guys to engage in that lust, engage in that temptation, okay? So you have to be careful out there because there's women who are perfect at doing it. There's people who would do it to you and you don't even know what's going on, but that's why you have to be aware, okay? And even me, when I first started this process, okay, of actually trying to hold back from the temptations, abstain from the temptations, hey, that was a part of it. I was not thinking like this. That's just the truth. I was not always like, you know what? There's women out here that will really just talk nice to you just so they can get something out of you. I was not thinking like that, okay? I was very naive. And even in my thinking now, I can be honest with myself. I'm still naive when it comes to certain aspects of myself. I just have more awareness now to understand that, okay, I don't need to be putting myself in certain situations because manipulation is at the front. Lust is at the front. These temptations will be at the front, okay? But once again, like I said before, I was very naive. I can admit that because that's the truth. It would have... I'm even surprised making this video. I don't have a child. I'm surprised that I don't have a whole bunch of baby mamas because I've been in situations where it's been like, hey, it could happen. But that's where I can say I am blessed and I am watched over. So I am definitely grateful for that and always will be. But it's still out there. And just because a few people, right, may have been able to recognize, right, before it's too late, and they already have this child, and they already have all these women around them, okay, that doesn't mean there are other people out there who will be able and be that fortunate, okay? The truth is there's going to be some people out there who they give into it. They have that child, and when they're not ready, they give into their temptations, and it leads them down a path to where it's hard to recover from, and now... then they realize it, okay? Then they start getting into whatever word it is, whatever type of spiritual, whatever type of message that tells them, hey, you actually need to be careful about your temptations. You need to be aware of what they are. And lust is like one of the strongest ones. There's going to be people out there that learn that after the fact. There's going to be people out there that learn that after they done had all these children, after they done had all these women, okay? And once again, this is not trying to put this on everyone, okay? Once again, there's going to be people out there who what? And I'm going to say this. There's people out there who are going to say it is what it is and have all them kids. There's going to be people who say it is what it is and have all them children. There's going to be people who say it is what it is and they're going to go and be with all these women. And then, fortunately, though, the bright side is there's going to be people who say it is what it is and they do abstain from them temptations. There's going to be people who say it is what it is and they do say, you know what, I'm not going to engage this woman. I'm not going to talk to this woman because I don't want her to think that it's something that it's not. There's going to be people that say it is what it is and they choose to do the right thing. There will be those people. There will be those people. There will be those people. And that's why it is good for you to understand where you're at, okay? Because once again, people are young, okay? That is just the nature of life. People, you start as a child, you start young, and you just start unaware of certain things. So once you become aware of it, and hopefully it's before you have engaged in so much of the temptations that now you have results, right? You have all these women, right? You have these children, right? Hopefully you realize before that, okay, I do need to be careful with who I sleep with, who I lay with, okay? The type of energies, the type of spirits I allow to take my time. Because that's the biggest thing. Take your time and take your energy, okay? So what do we talk about? We just talked about the Jezebel spirits earlier. We talked about their energies and how they are pretty much everywhere you look, and you have to be careful with being aware of when they're present, being aware of how you can have self-control to not engage, and also just not even that, because there's times you may be on your P's and Q's. There are times where you may be doing what you need to do, but they're still around. There's that energy still there, so you're still gonna have to be aware that, okay, they're still around. So now I'm gonna have to do what? I'm gonna have that self-control. I'm gonna have that wherewithal to be like, hey, I'm gonna have this. I understand what these people may want, but you're not gonna give into it, okay? But once again, it is different for everybody. It is different for other people, but I guess it depends on who you are. So are you gonna be a person who is giving in to their desires and temptations constantly? Are you going to be a person who's giving into these things all the time? Or are you going to be a person who's like, you know what, I'm going to have some self-control, I'm going to have some self-awareness, and I'm not going to be out here sleeping around. I'm not going to be out here doing these things that at the end of the day aren't really doing anything positive for you, okay? It just all depends about your decision. It all depends about your choice, okay? I can just simply just say it. At the end of the day, people are going to make their own decisions, and people are going to do what they want to do. So what did we talk about? Once again, talked about Jezebel spirits. Okay, talked about these energies, how to recognize them, and where they can be present, not just on social media, but in life. Okay, what else did we talk about? We talked about being aware. We talked about understanding that there are situations where you're going to be around it. There are situations where you're going to be tempted, but at the end of the day, you should not give in to those temptations, okay? We talked about understanding that even people around you, because once again, there's going to be people who say, hey, I'm going to give into it. And on the flip side of that, fortunately, there's going to be people who say, I'm not going to give into it. But you could be a person, right, that's saying, I'm going to actually work on this, okay? I'm going to actually abstain from this, okay? I'm not going to give into these temptations, okay? But just because you may be a person who's trying to do things better, do things the right way, doesn't mean the people that are around you are going to be trying to do things the right way. That is just the nature of it, okay? So those are the things we talked about. And another thing I want to touch on is the unpopular thing, right? That's usually the right thing to do, okay? Sometimes the unpopular thing is the right thing to do. Sometimes the unpopular thing is the right thing to do. Because, once again, in the times we're in, it's a bandwagon society. What does that mean, bandwagon? It means that most people just go with the next big thing. Most people just go with the next thing that's, popular, the next thing that's grabbing all the attention, the next thing that's going to bring in revenue, the next thing that's going to bring them their next big check. And once again, good on them, okay? There's going to be people who go for that. Good on them. That's what they want out of life. That's what they'll get. But on the other side of that, there are people who actually want to do better, who don't want to give into those temptations. And you have to be aware that most people may not agree with that. Most people may have an issue with that. Most people will hear this message if you're a person who's trying to be better. And for me, there's going to be people who watch this. There's going to be people who hear this. And once they hear this, they're going to be like, this man, you know what I'm saying? And I say this all the time. He needs some coochie, okay? This man needs something, because there's just no way that he's saying these things. I just don't understand how he came to this conclusion. I just don't understand how he's saying you have to abstain and you have to resist these things they're so pleasurable, right? Like, who doesn't want to be out here having all the women in the world, right? Who doesn't want to be out here engaging in all these, because it just feels so good, right? It's just such a fun time, right? So keep in mind, there are going to be people who are like that. And that's when you have to recognize the type of energy, the type of spirit that they have, the type of spirit that they're embodying, okay? Because you can be knocked off course. You can go off the path. You can stray from the path, okay? You can not live in accordance. That's possible. And there are plenty of scriptures. There are plenty of words out there, whether it's spiritual, whether it's religious, whatever you believe in, there are things out there, right, that tell you that. And simply, for me personally, because I believe in God, that's where I'm at, okay? There are simply, everything will just tell you that you can stray from the path of God. You can stray from the path of living in accordance, okay? However you want to say it, right? I say God, but there are plenty of things that will tell you there are things you can do to stray from the path, and giving into these temptations constantly will lead you down a series of decisions that will lead you into straying from the path. And that's why you have to be aware of what's going on. You have to be aware of your situation, whoever you may be. Okay, however many children you may have, okay, however many baby mamas you may have, okay, because once again, maybe there's people who want that. Maybe there's people who want to have all them baby mamas, want to have all them children, but it is not going to be fruitful at the end of the day. It's not going to bring you anything that's worthwhile, okay? And that's why you have to be careful, okay? So that's the video. And before I end this video, I have to give these shout outs. So once again, there are going to be people who say, you know what? I hear this message, because I'm not the only person that says this, okay? And it's not like I just made this up, okay? Once again, there's nothing new under the sun. So there's going to be people who hear this, whether it's from me or another source on YouTube, or maybe they have people in their lives, which is great, that tell them, hey, you should be careful. Don't be out here sleeping around too much, okay? You know, watch that lust, have some control over your temptations, and that's great. And there's going to be people who hear it. And guess what? There's going to be people who say, you know what? I hear that, but at the end of the day, I'm going to do this. At the end of the day, I'm going to sleep with who I want. At the end of the day, I'm going to have these children. At the end of the day, I'm going to create turmoil. At the end of the day, I'm going to create whatever it is, okay? And give into their temptations, because I said it doesn't have to be lust. It could be gluttony, greed, lying, deceit. It could be all types of things, right? Because it's not just the 7 deadly sins. There's other things as well. Those are the main ones, but there's other things as well. So there are going to be people who hear it and go, yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, he's a loser. I'm just going to go ahead and do my own thing. Hey, you're right. I wouldn't even disagree with you. But once again, I have to give the shout outs to who? The people who will hear the message, the people who will hear this, and the people who will go like, you know what? I'm going to make an attempt. I'm going to make an effort, and I'm actually going to change for the better. I am going to abstain from these temptations. I am not going to be out here sleeping around. I am not going to be out here creating all these broken homes. I'm not going to be out here engaging with these energies. I'm not going to be out here engaging with these Jezebel spirits. I'm not going to be out here giving into my lust, which is going to subtract from my plus, okay? I'm not going to be out here giving into lust, which is going to subtract from the spirit within you, which is going to subtract from the soul within you. I'm not going to be out here giving into temptations, which is going to lead me to have all these relationships that have tension between, you know, this woman and this woman and that woman and this woman, okay? You're just not going to be out here letting these spirits embody you and be around you, because that's what happens once you start to engage in these lusts, and once you start to sleep with all these women and have all these children. Now you're just opening yourself up to become a vessel to be easily possessed, okay? And if you want to be possessed by anything, be possessed by God, be possessed by the Most High. That's the only thing you should ever be possessed by, if you ask me. If anybody want to talk anything about, look, that's where I'm at, okay? So once again, shout out to the people who are not giving into their temptations. Shout out to the people who are actually abstaining from, maybe they struggle with gluttony, maybe they struggle with greed, maybe they struggle with lying, maybe they struggle with deceit, maybe they struggle with lust, right? Because that's a big one. Maybe they just can't put the corn down. Maybe they just can't leave this woman alone, okay? Maybe they just, you know what I'm saying, they got to be out here with the baby making music on, getting it on, okay? Like, shout out to the people who are actually having that self-control, because guess what? When you understand that, okay, that's when them temptations, they really, because now you're aware of it. Now you know the woman right there, okay, you might want to stare. Like, that's just the nature of it, okay? So shout out to the people who are putting in that work. Shout out to the people who are putting in effort to say, you know what? I'm not going to be out here having all these women, having all these children, trying to play dad to her, and play dad to everybody out here, because then it gets messy. Because then next you know, you don't even know what child might be yours. Let's talk about it. You want to sleep with all these women out here, have all these children. It becomes very easy for her to, you know what I'm saying, slip in a fake, you know. And I know that sounds crazy how I'm saying it, so I do apologize. But once again, it could become very easy for somebody to slip in, like, You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know if that child mine. Like, that is the situations you avoid when you have control over your temptations. So shout out to the people who are out there really putting in the work to say no. Okay, putting in the work to be like, you know what? I want to maintain my glow. I want to maintain my soul. I want to maintain my spirit. Shout out to those people. Shout out to those people. Because you are avoiding a lot of things that can easily derail you. Easily, okay? And that's a big thing. The paternity fraud, okay? It really gets like that out here. You don't even know if the child is yours. You don't even know, are you the same woman that I was laying with? Like, that's the conversations people start having. Like, that is just what it is. People start to, you know what I'm saying? But the people who are out there that are staying true to the path, that are living in accordance, you are avoiding all of that. You are avoiding all of this tension. You are avoiding all of these things because you have already prevented the things from happening because you're not laying around, okay, with all these women and having all these children, okay? So with that being said, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Hope whoever's watching, whoever's listening could take something from this and apply it to their lives in whatever way they can to help them have a positive change and a positive influence, okay? And hey, hopefully you took some positive from this. Hey, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.